Gentlemen, we're going to begin the service in just a moment. Ladies and gentlemen, we're about to begin the service. May I have everyone's attention, please? Would the following pallbearers please step up to the back of the hearse? Michael Kahn, Zach Albert, John Bell, Sharon Markman, Carl Duffield, and Lauren Kaufman. Pallbearers, please come up to the back of the hearse.
question that Ray is big.
I'm just saying hi. When did you get them? I'm sorry to see one another. Sad occasion. I wish it was a similar, but I was.
Just a moment, please. We've got Cynthia. Pass out the programs. Please, I'll take care of that. Barry, can you?
Let's take my seat.
I need to be in the shade. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Nope. You're right in front of our camera.
Step back here because it's turn it up in the line of the camera. Yep.
Again, ladies and gentlemen, please put your cell phones to silent mode. Funeral service is being conducted by Rabbi Wendy Geffen. If anybody needs any water, there's a cooler over here.
We are here together this day, really just a year and a half after we were here to bury Sansi. And in some respects, that feels emotionally so much, if not too much, to bear. At the same time, perhaps there is some comfort in knowing that Ray has been returned next to Sansi, the only place he really ever wanted to be. In particular, you might remember when we were grieving Sansi, how it was shared at the time, how so much comfort was brought to Sansi and to Ray by Ray wanting to lay next to her in bed, to be close to her as they were through all of their life together. This idea of comfort strikes a chord as we find ourselves in the Jewish community now in a period of time known as Shivata de Nechemta, the 7 weeks of consolation that take us from the lowest moment in our calendar, from Tisha B'Av all the way up to Rosh Hashanah. 7 haftarot that remind us at once of destruction and despair, and at the same time offering us promise of comfort, of consolation of return. And it is in that mixed sensibility that we are here today, in deep grief and seeking comfort and perhaps finding it, knowing that as we grieve, so too are we grateful for Ray now being returned with Sansi, to be able to know that we shared in his long and full life as we now become bearers of his memory. And so we'll turn to voices of our tradition. First, the 23rd Psalm. I'll recite it in Hebrew and then turn to the English and invite you to join in one voice in that English together, as this psalm represents comfort to our people throughout the ages. Adonai ro'i lo echsar, binot deshe yarbitzeni al memenuchot yenahaleni nafshi yeshovev, yancheni b'ma'ag le'tzedek lema'an shemo. Gam ki elech b'geit salmavet lo irara ki ata imadi. Shivtecha u'mishantecha hema yenachamuni, ta'aroch lifanai shulchan neged tzorarai, dishanta v'shemen roshi, kosi revaya. Ach tov v'chesed yirdefuni kol yemei chayai, yeshavti b'veit Adonai la'orech yamin. Let's join together. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He guideth me in straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. The 90th Psalm. We recited this psalm at Sansi's funeral. We recite it today as well to remember her and bring her with us here, but also knowing that the words resonate so powerfully for Ray as well. Adonai ma'ona ta'ita lanu bedor vador, b'terem harim yuladu vat cholel eretz vatevel, me'olam ad olam ata'el. God, you have been our refuge in every generation. Before the mountains came into being, before you brought forth the earth and the world, from eternity to eternity, you are God. You return us to dust. You decree, return, you mortals, for in your sight 1,000 years are as yesterday when it has passed as a watch in the night. You engulf us in sleep. We are like grass that renews itself. At daybreak it flourishes anew. At dusk it withers and dries up. The span of our life is 70 years and 10, or given strength 80 years, but the best of those years pass by speedily, and we are then left in darkness. So teach us, God, to number our days, that we might attain a heart of wisdom. Turn to us, God, show mercy to your servants. Satisfy us at daybreak with your steadfast love, that we might sing for joy all our days. Let your deeds be seen by your servants, your glory by their children. May your favor, O God, be upon us. Establish the work of our hands, that it might long endure. More modern words, a poem that I know Ray was fond of. Birth is a beginning and death a destination, and life is a journey. From childhood to maturity and youth to age, from innocence to awareness and ignorance to knowing, from foolishness to discretion and then perhaps to wisdom, from weakness to strength, or strength to weakness and often back again. From health to sickness and back we pray to health again. From offense to forgiveness, from loneliness to love, from joy to gratitude, pain to compassion, and grief to understanding, from fear to faith, from defeat to defeat to defeat, until, looking backward or ahead, we come to see that victory lies not at some high place along the way, but in having made the journey stage by stage, a sacred pilgrimage. Birth is a beginning and death a destination, and life is a journey, a sacred pilgrimage made stage by stage to life everlasting. This time of year, as we approach the High Holy Days, we encounter a refrain in a few of our Torah portions, a directive to us that God places before us life and blessing, death and curse, and invites us to choose life, v'charta v'chaim, so that we might live. When I think of life, I think of Ray. I think of a person who embraced every bit of life, who delighted in it, who rejoiced in it, and even when it was hard, still tried so hard to continue the embracing of that life, and in the end, really chose life and continued choosing life. And he certainly would have continued choosing life. How long ago was it when he found the book Staying Young Forever, or what was the title of that book? He was 96, interested in staying forever young and reading up on it, which tells us about his passion for life. So as we are here together today to remember Ray and his 96 very full years of life, we will remember him as a son, a brother, husband, father, grandfather, great-grandfather, uncle, friend, businessman, leader, a man who experienced so much and touched so many that there would be, in truth, no way to cover the entirety of his life in our time together this day. But we will try to offer a few highlights to give us a picture of the man he was. And as we, of course, mourn his loss, we will also be together giving thanks and offering gratitude for having been able to share in his life along its path, and now to become carriers of his legacy. Ray was born in 1927 in Flatbush, New York, to his parents, Julius and Celia. He was their only son and third of their 4 children, Florence and Selma, his older sisters, and his baby sister, all with whom he shared close relationships. Growing up in the Depression, life was not particularly easy. The family lived in an apartment in the same building as Ray's grandparents, though. They didn't have a telephone of their own, and they would have to go to the store below their apartment or to a payphone to make calls. Ray attended Erasmus High School, a point of great pride for him. He actually went back for reunions regularly. We couldn't decide if it was his 50th or 60th reunion that he most recently attended, but either way, Alumni of the Year points for that. Ray was so proud to go to college. He did so with a scholarship to the journalism school at the University of Missouri. He loved Mizzou. He remained a loyal Tiger his whole life. He graduated there with honors in 1949 and then made his way to Chicago to begin his career. His first job was as a copywriter for the Trib. He then worked in advertising, representing a number of interesting and noteworthy clients and accounts at Helene Curtis, McCann Erickson, and Leo Burnett. A real pinnacle moment for Ray. After this, Ray became the executive president of marketing at Encyclopedia Britannica, work he really loved, work that allowed him to see so much of the world and meet so many incredible people. At that point, his career path transitioned in a more entrepreneurial direction. He went into marketing and distribution for Heritage Home Videos. I believe some of those videos are still available, should anybody be interested in them, and I guess have the technology that would allow you to watch those. I think they are VHS or beta. He served on a number of boards. He was always seeking new opportunities. He was the ultimate networker, responsible for connecting so many different people together over the course of his life, and he really never stopped working. Even at the Abington, they called Ray Mr. Business. I shared with the family the other day that I visited Ray just a few months ago, and while we were sitting together, no fewer than like 5 phone calls came in where he told me, I gotta take this, Rabbi, and then would get on the phone and tell the person he's talking with the rabbi, but would call them later about this idea or that idea. Incredible. Ray loved not just the thrill of the deal, but the thrill, I think, of creating something new, of being with people, of making it happen. He was a true people person, and he thrived in environments where he thought he could be of help, of purpose. But let's travel back to the moment that would really change the direction of Ray's life for the better forever. At the start of his freshman year at Mizzou, and family, I went and checked the notes back from when Sansi passed away, so the timeline now is according to Ray. So at the start of his freshman year at Mizzou, Ray met a sophomore from Texas named Sansi. And because Ray's Sammy fraternity house and Sansi's sorority house's respective backyards adjoined one another, they were brought together. That's actually how they first encountered one another. They started dating early on, and the rest was history, with the exception of one small stumbling block, Sansi's mom, Carolyn. So Sansi's mom needed a little convincing, as she didn't want to see Sansi's social life limited by her daughter dating one person exclusively. And in the end, it was the Sammy house mom, a woman named Lady Mac, who helped convince Carolyn of Ray's merit. And from that moment on, Ray and Sansi were together. Or at least that's how Ray put it a year and a half ago. Sounds right? Yeah. They studied for classes together. One time Ray tutored Sansi for an econ class in which Sansi ended up scoring a higher grade than Ray did, and Ray never forgot that. To a few years later, when Sansi's mom even allowed Ray to live in Buddy's bedroom when Ray started to work for the Trib a few months before the couple married. What a turnaround. Ray and Sansi were married in June of 1949 at the Drake in the Gold Coast room. They lived at Hyde Park. Leslie came along, Jan next, at which point the family of then 4 moved up to Highland Park to 648 Burton Avenue. Tom was born, the family was complete, only a bit later moving to 424 Lakeside Manor, into the house that would really become the true Markman family home for over half a century. Ray and Sansi remained there until 2008. They moved to Deerfield for a bit, and finally to Lake Forest, something Ray really loved. Ray and Sansi were in every way their respective lives' true loves and partners. In a relationship that was nourished by the natural, the couple experienced together deep affection, companionship, immeasurable love. Always together, Sansi and Ray enjoyed whatever they were doing, taking walks, spending time with their many friends, going to Ravenna, going to Ray's work events. They loved entertaining. Sansi was an incredible hostess and cook, and Ray loved the people, and they loved to travel too. They journeyed all over the country and the world. They were so devoted to one another, and they took care of one another. In the last most difficult period of Sansi's life, Ray literally never left her side. He refused, not only ensuring that Sansi received quality care, but more, that she would know she was never alone, sleeping next to her side by side, literally through when she died. They were married for nearly 3/4 of a century, a lifetime, really. Of course, more important to Ray and Sansi than anything was their family. Even though Ray was very busy with work while Leslie, Jan, and Tom were growing up, he still found ways to be there, to be present in their lives. He always made time for them. He was there at every ceremonial or important event or occasion. There were family dinners every Sunday night, often at Nightingale or the Silo. So many family vacations, driving in the family Rambler to many of these places. Memories abound of Ray serving as a judge for Leslie and Jan when they were both in the Highland Park Athletic Club, of Ray and Sansi taking the girls, sorry Tom, to see the Beatles, to Ray's taking Leslie to hear Dr. Martin Luther King in Evanston, to bringing Tom with him, here's your comeback, on the EV trips all around the world, to his visits to dad weekends at college. Ray showed up. He traveled to Israel when Leslie became a bat mitzvah as an adult. He loved spending time. He loved spending time with Jan and John, a real highlight being a trip to France for nearly 2 weeks together, not so long ago. And visiting Tom wherever he was, Copenhagen, Israel, wherever. Ray had unique relationships with each of his sons and daughter-in-law as well, all sharing the common bond of love. Philip and Ray shared a lot of time together. They both lived in the Chicago area. Their families would see each other regularly. They shared a professional relationship too, significant one-to-one time. And Philip is so grateful for the incredible devotion and help Ray had and was with his parents along the way. Ray and John shared a close, loving relationship, regardless of where he and Jan were, close, far. John admired Ray and even had him speak at an MBA class at Kellogg about his professional experience, and I can only imagine how Ray delighted in that moment. Robbie loved how Ray could not be held back. His irrepressibility was especially appreciated when it came to the grandkids, who Ray would just love spending time with, and this would allow Robbie a little bit of a reprieve along the way as well. They loved each other deeply. Ray was blessed to be grandpa, or gramps, to Karen and Zach, Lauren and Carl, Justin and Megan, Jackson and Sarah, Shalom Abba and Eliza, Zisi and Yaakov, Rina and David, Basia, Eliana, and Yochanan, Yosef Chaim, and Tova Dina. It's literally a congregation just from his grandchildren. Though when Ray first became a grandfather, he was not necessarily ready to take on the full mantle of that title, declaring that his grandchildren should just call him Ray. Over time, though, he grew into the role and it grew on him. He loved being with and knowing his grandchildren, and they each came to have unique relationships with him over the course of their lives. And of course, what an incredible blessing Ray experienced in living to see and know the fourth generation of his family with 21 great-grandchildren. Get ready. Eitan, Lila, Emmett, Jonah, Luke, Wyatt, Ruby, Huvi, Shayna, Eliezer, Aharon, Meir, Malki, Miriam, Adina, Ita, Zahava, Ricky, Tzvi, Shimon, and Shayna. Did I get them all? What nachas. In truth, there are so many other wonderful characteristics and experiences that made Ray the incredible one-of-a-kind person he was. He loved life and he loved living. He was passionate about athletics, from playing stickball in the streets as a child, to playing 16-inch softball in Chicago, to coaching Tom's hockey team, to playing tennis for over 3 decades. He loved his sports teams, from the Dodgers to the Tigers, to the White Sox, to the Packers, because of his love for Vince Lombardi, I think it's important to say. Ray loved being in the sun. He would have probably loved this day. Sitting at the beach, something he loved as a child, from the time sitting at the beach on the Atlantic to something that continued to the shores of Lake Michigan, whether in Highland Park or Lake Forest. He loved food, though he was always health conscious. He loved people, being around people and being in life with them. He was a beloved uncle and great uncle, no less colleague and friend to many. Ray was willful. He was irrepressible when it came to living his life, even in this last most difficult year. Ask his family about his recent trip to North Carolina, or the Cubs game with Shalom, or Ray's many attempts simply to get out of the Abington by calling himself a taxi. Yikes. In the end, Ray lived a long, full, and beautiful life in which he loved and was loved deeply. A life in which he didn't idle along, one which he filled up with life, action, seizing the day and the world along with it. And ultimately, the impact of this has left its mark, has left its legacy. And it will continue, undoubtedly, to bless the lives of the countless many who will hold him in their hearts and in their memories, God willing, for generations to come. Zichrono livracha. His memory is a blessing. And we get to now hear from many of those heart holders of Ray. So first, we'll go with Leslie. Sound okay?
Mine is very short and sweet. I think my siblings will have more to say, but so last night I was talking to one of my father's friends about my dad's demise, and she was discussing his life, and she said, if I had a life like Ray, I couldn't complain. And that's exactly right. He was blessed for his 96 3/4 of the year and almost 97. And as you know, he came from immigrant parents and came from nothing. He managed to create a life full of family, friends, his many business adventures, which my siblings and I can tell you about, continued up until the end of July. Sports, playing tennis and watching his beloved Mizzou Tigers. He travels around the world with our mother and business adventures as recently as last November, as you heard, to North Carolina, when we canceled all his flights, and he still managed to talk his way onto the plane.
Oh, wow.
So, if I had a life like Ray, I don't think I could complain. Hello, thank you all for coming. My dad, mercurial, relentless, determined, gregarious, adventurer, purposeful, geopolitical expert, so he thought. I love sports, music, and enjoying a great time with family and friends. When a loved one passes away, may the memories be a blessing, and there are many. Some amazing memories. My father loved his alma mater, University of Missouri, in Columbia. He enjoyed the Greek fraternity life and met my mom and graduated with honors in journalism. He was so excited when I followed in his footsteps and went to school there, though my grades weren't as good as his. His big thrill is visiting me during the sorority fathers weekends each year, reliving his old college days, sitting in the stands, screaming for the Mizzou Tigers, and taking me to his favorite bars, drinking beer, and still standing, and then making Bloody Marys for all the other dads with the sorority house mom having a fit. Great times. Another epic memory is the 2-week trip to the he planned with mom, invited John and I to join to travel through Paris and Provence, France. Dad planned every minute of the trip, so it was jam-packed with all the great historical sites, fantastic dining, museums, tours. Every morning, Dad had us on a tight schedule every morning, and we met in front of the hotel 8 a.m. sharp. And then he said he needs to find a boulangerie, a French bakery, and he brought us a semblance of wonderful pastries. And off we went, all on his planned itinerary, exhausting itinerary for the whole day. After several days of touring France on my dad's tight schedule, my husband John said, "Ray, can we just slow this down a bit? And he stated, no time to slow down. We have a lot more to see and do. And that was how my dad lived his life. No time to slow down. Dad, may you rest in peace.
Okay, I just limited it to one page. I could go on. Maybe I'll write a book. To my father, no meant not now, or maybe you didn't appreciate what I just asked you. You could never give him a reason why the answer was no, because he'd find a way around it. He was a really wily person in that way. He was driven, and he was an information hound, junkie. The TV was always on. He was always reading papers. He loved the news, and he and I, back in the 60s, used to watch Walter Cronkite religiously. And speaking of religion, my dad fasted every Yom Kippur until his last. And while not religious, certainly in terms of practice, he was in terms of ethics. He had as we say in Judaism, a keter shem tov. He had a good name. Because I would go with him, as it was mentioned, on his business trips, and people just loved him. And I just have to recount a story. We were in Frankfurt checking out of the Intercontinental Hotel, and in the line there was Germans in Frankfurt, and the very proper clerk handed us the bill. And we had taken out some laundry. I was traveling across Europe. I had no clothes, and I put on and we got our laundry back, and we went down to the bill. They gave us a bill, and that day it was $100, which would probably be about $800 in today's dollars. And we sat there at the clerk with 20 people behind us waiting to catch their planes, laughing our heads off at this bill. So we paid it and left. Everybody that I encountered in his business, they all loved him. And my dad could party, as Jan said, but he could also delivered in business. His networking, his interest in people was unbelievable. He took an interest in my friends, and my friends loved him. Some came here today, Joel and Mez, and he played sports with us. And I remember, he was quarterbacking, and my friend Jerry Samuels asked if he played for the Chicago Bears as the quarterback. So he'd go out and play. He taught me how to throw, taught me how to do so many things. And while he was busy making a living, and thank God we lived up in upscale Highland Park, and he took care of our college education and our summer camp, he still found time with all that work to go to all our events, be it athletic or theatrical or otherwise. And he loved to travel. He gave all of us a bug, and he even found a travel school when I was searching after college for something to do. He says, why don't you try this? So I went to a 6-week travel school in San Francisco, and that led me to 5 years crisscrossing the world on the greatest job I've ever had before I disappointed him and turned down University of Illinois, University of Chicago, Northwestern MBA programs to start learning the Talmud. He goes, are you out of your mind? and right before that, I said, Dad, I want to become a novelist. So he said, okay, but you got to have a plan. You got to have a deadline. So he gave me, I wrote, I was living in Denmark. I wrote a novel for 400 pages. I rewrote it 4 times, and I haven't read it since. I decided I'm going to be a novelist. So I went to Israel, and he said, okay, you want to turn all these success tracks in life down. What's your plan? So I had a plan, and I started running, because he was into, you got to chase your dreams. Okay, I hear it, turned on MBA at these schools, but you got to chase your dreams. What are you going to do? So he said to me, I said I had this job at Aish in LA, and he loved it. He loved the corporate intrigue because he had so much of it himself. He loved all the new programming. He would come out and talk to all the rabbis and hear the programming and attend the programming. He got so into it up until the end, he wanted to know, so what's going on? What's going on with H today? What are you doing? And it became, my success became his success. He came out to the banquets, and, you know, he was, as long as he had a plan, you could do what you wanted. And he loved the grandchildren, and that was good for me because that kind of diverted him from everything else I was doing. But here's the grandchildren, and we kept giving him more and more grandchildren. My mom didn't, she thought it was too many grandchildren, but we said, well, who do you want to give back? So, and they taught us about marriage by having one for 73 and a half years. And he laughed and he loved and he felt he had a relationship with God. He always said, I have a personal relationship with God. And he never felt sorry for himself. No matter what no matter where he was, no matter what was going on. He lost a little momentum when he lost my mom, but he picked it up on Rosh Hashanah. He picked it up on Rosh Hashanah, and he was unstoppable after Rosh Hashanah. It was unbelievable to watch him. And we were trying to keep up with him. And still, you know, was trying to make his deals. There he was, you know, a month before he left this world, in a hospital bed, in a rehab center, surrounded by his files and his papers. To someone else, it would look completely pathetic, but to me, it was heroic. The guy never gave up, and he always felt he always saw in the potential of tomorrow. That's a real Jew, a real Jew. So as I grow older, I see how I'm becoming more my dad in so many ways, whether I want or not. And I want to end by saying I feel so privileged that I had such a dad, and I thank God that I was chosen by God to call him my father. Thank you.
Ray was my father-in-law for 33 years, and an integral member of our family. Loved being with Jan and I and our kids, our grandkids. He cared deeply about them, always asked about them, was always concerned about them. I can tell you, being with Ray was never a dull moment. He lived life on his own terms, just like what Tom just talked about. He was a man who, in the words of Frank Sinatra's timeless song, did it his way. My father-in-law was the embodiment of independence, someone who chartered his own course, refusing to be confined by convention or the expectations of others. He was something of a force to be reckoned with, a true individualist. He wasn't interested in blending in or following the path of others that had been neatly laid out. No, he had a different vision. He wasn't afraid to take chances, to make his own way, whether it was in his career, his relationships, or simply in the way he chose to live his life. He did things his way, and he was proud of it. He was unconventional in the best sense of the word. While some may have found comfort in the tradition of the status quo, he saw it as an opportunity to shake things up. He was never content to settle for good enough. He always strived to do more, be better, and do something that's never been done before. He took risks that others might not have taken or might have shied away from. That's what set Ray apart. He didn't just want to exist in this world. He wanted to leave his mark on it and do things his way. In his later years, he remained every bit the independent spirit he had always been. Even when life threw him a few curveballs, he faced them head on, refusing to let them define him. He took life as it came, and even as it neared the end of his journey, he still approached it his way, with courage, conviction, and a refusal to compromise. So today, as we say our goodbyes, let's remember Ray for the remarkable man that he was. He taught us that life is not about following the crowd, but about blazing your own trail. He showed us that it's okay to take risks, to shake things up, and to dream bigger than anyone thinks possible. He lived his life with a rare freedom that allowed him to be exactly who he wanted to be. And in the end, like the Sinatra song says, he did it his way, with a gift that is not just to him, but to all of us who had the privilege of knowing and loving him. Rest in peace, Ray.
My relationship with Ray was complicated. He had expectations for everyone who he loved, and sometimes it was challenging to meet those expectations. While that was frustrating for him, and I felt that frustration, I've come to realize these feelings were another way Ray showed love. When Grandma passed, a large part of his heart closed up. She was the love of his life. He, however, was determined to live to 120. Ray always took such care of his health. He truly believed that if you douse your meal in olive oil, you will live a very long time. To this day, I'm definitely not stingy with my olive oil. I have so many wonderful memories of growing up in the house on Lakeside Manor. Ray loved his home videos. He would gather Lauren and me into the den, set up the video, and then promptly fall asleep. Grandma would then come in and put on I Love Lucy, and then we would tease Ray when he woke up. I loved eating breakfast with Ray as a kid. It was our special time together when he wasn't working. When I was in college, I would call Grandma and Ray every Friday night to tell them about my week. Ray always had a million questions, and they would both talk over each other, but I wouldn't have had it any other way. Ray loved to celebrate birthdays and anniversaries. Saturday night, I wasn't sure if going out for my anniversary with Zach was the right choice, but then I remembered how much Grandma and Ray loved to celebrate. Zach and I celebrated 15 years of marriage, and I just felt that both Grandma and Ray were there celebrating with us. At the end of the day, I am and will always be his first grandchild. It made my heart soar when he told everyone and anyone that. But now my heart hurts. I am not ready to say goodbye, but I know he is now with Grandma, his true love. Ray, I love you, and I will miss you.
Just going through all Grandpa's business notes as I practice speech. Writing a eulogy for a grandparent is not easy. I'm just looking at my speech. Okay, hang on. Here we go. Writing a eulogy for a friend hurts. But we're all here to remember someone unique in so many beautiful ways. So that's what I'm going to do. As we said this entire day, Grandpa didn't live in the past, so neither will we. We'll all remember him and even giggle at the thought how we were so blessed to know such a soul. A soul who I personally never heard a complaint about anything in his personal life. I remember the first time, I called my grandparents to introduce them to my new bride, Eliza. As you know, Ray and Sansi, both of them are grandparents. So we were pulling up to a restaurant in Crown Heights called Basil when we made the call. They have good basil fries. If you remember, in their home, there were 2 phones. At least there were 2 phones. There must have been more. So when they would answer the phone, they would answer the phone at the same time. So the call go, hello? Grandma always first. Hello? Grandpa distant second. Meanwhile, Grandma's chastising Grandpa that it's Shalom on the phone, so shut off the TV. I'm doing it right now, Grandpa would say. Grandma got the giddies talking to her new granddaughter. She was excited like she got in on the greatest secret. We all know from a year and a half ago how much Grandma loves secrets. Grandma and Grandpa, this is Eliza. Oh, wait, I should have just said Alyssa, but it was too late. Eliza? Asked Grandma. No, Eliza. Eliza. No, Grandma. Eliza. Eliza, said Grandpa. Beautiful name. No, Ray. Eliza, said Grandma. No to both of you. Eliza, it never got any better. My earliest memories of Grandpa were our summer Chicago visits and that winter visit for Karen's bar mitzvah. Ooh, they never lived that down, sorry, Daddy. I remember Grandpa stocking up the garage with bikes from a friend so we could ride the neighborhood. Over those summer days, I learned about Raisin Bran, black coffee. I still give Grandpa credit at Starbucks when I order black coffee. Shaving cream, the radio in the bathroom business, no matter how interesting the museum exhibit was. Peach pits in the 7th inning, newspapers. Did I say newspapers? But most importantly, how to respect one's wife. His wife was a treasure. It was his essence. Grandma was the luckiest lady because Grandpa treated her that way. No marriage class needed. Just a good scolding sometimes. Grandpa lived for information. My mother, who's here today, wanted to get Grandpa a gift around 20 years ago for his birthday. So what would be the perfect gift for Grandpa, right? If you had to get him something, what would it be? We know Grandma would have got him the gift of unsubscribing to the Chicago Tribune. But Grandpa would have figured out how to have it delivered the next day anyways. So his perfect gift was a waterproof radio for the shower. Mom, you knew Grandpa. He was a simple man who could never have enough information. My highlight came when he visited LA. My highlight when he visited LA was playing basketball with him in the backyard, our horse games. We would spend hours together shooting around. He was good, and I didn't know how to lose, but neither did Grandpa. That made two sore losers going at it. I don't think I ever lost a game, as a matter of fact. But he let me feel great about my skills, always complimenting and trash talking. It was a teammate in heaven. I loved seeing Grandpa interact, especially at shul in HLA. He was such a schmoozer. He loved the environment there as well. He got so much pride introducing himself as Raymond Markman's my son. I would often take him to shul for the last 30 minutes and then off to Kiddush, where he was just a natural. He would go to a prayer class given by Rabbi Heller. It was one of his highlights of each LA trip. He would sit in the class like an AP student in total focus. I remember one class in particular, he took Rabbi Heller aside and said, if I had teachers like you growing up, I would have still been Orthodox, and I mean it. Grandpa wanted the truth and nothing less. He'd call you out on it, if not. This class was truth, he was thirsty for it. This morning in the airport, I played 10 voicemails he left me over the last few months. I often remember getting back-to-back calls if I didn't pick up. I knew I would miss getting his calls one day, so I did my best to save them. A little bit more to go. I'm making up for everybody's 1 minute speech. He was a salesman talking to another me. We're on the same wavelength in so many good ways, but each message was a professional to the highest degree. When he would leave me messages, it would sound like he would be leaving messages for a CEO of a company he'd be trying to sell. Like, very professional. Why is that? Why was he so professional in his messages? Anybody, right? You got a voicemail? Hey, this is Ray. Call me back. Blah, blah, blah. I'm just his grandson. I believe it's because Grandpa had so much respect for me, but he had so much respect for you, for everybody here. He had no problem giving out respect. You know why? Because he didn't have any lack of self-esteem, so he had no issue giving out honor. Okay, so last story. As you can tell, I'm Orthodox. That means I do a lot of praying. Synagogue life, I guess. I came to visit Grandpa in April. We spent the day together, bagels and lox at Emma's, etc. It was late afternoon, and that meant time to do the synagogue stop. I told Grandpa that I'll drop him off at the Abington, and then I'll head out to pray, and then pick him back up for dinner. No, I'll come with you. Why? You're just gonna be hanging out. I want to daven. I want to pray, said Grandpa, and that he did. The afternoon and evening prayer back to back. Everyone had left, but Grandpa was still praying from his prayer book. He was the last one in the synagogue. 2 months ago, at the infamous visit, I came to visit on the 3rd of July. I had a great day planned, including a Cub game at Wrigley. But he said something before we left for the game that caught me off guard. Shalom, I want to go to the synagogue again. I had a meaningful experience last time, and I'd like to go again. So, on the way to Wrigley, we had an important stop to do. Chassidish Shul. Chassidish Shul for a 3:15 p.m. Mincha prayer service. And just like the previous time, we were the last ones to leave. Grandpa was still praying even as the last congregant left Shul. Grandpa even made friends with a chassid that day, of course, and he told him about the book, the living book about the secrets of long life. And that person kept in touch and would bring him gefilte fish over the last 2 months. He would visit Abington. I think he even came, well, I have this in my speech. He came to visit and saw him a few hours before he passed away this past Friday. A Hasidic guy who he brought gefilte fish. If you saw him, you wouldn't even speak to him in English. That's how he looked. His name was Avrami. Thank you, Avrami. Actually, Grandpa said, if I knew that this were Orthodox Jews, I would be Orthodox. He really made a big Kiddush Hashem to Grandpa. So I want my wife Aliza and my children to know that growing up with Grandpa and watching his respect for his beautiful wife was the healthiest thing a young boy can experience. She was his darling, he was hers. Didn't feel so odd this last year and a half to see Grandpa without his soulmate by his side. He was a fish out of water, but he did amazing given the circumstances. My blessing to all here mourning yet celebrating today is may we light up the room with our smile and happiness the same way Grandpa did. It didn't matter his circumstance. It didn't matter his mood. His smile and laugh lives on. We talked on Thursday together. I said I love you. He said I love you. I got a kiss from you. I got a kiss from him when I went up. He was I don't know, a few people here saw him on Thursday. He was out of it. Whenever I went up to his lips, he gave me a cheek. I must have gotten 5 kisses that day. And I asked you on Thursday, Grandpa, if I should come back this week to see you. And you shook your head yes. I didn't mean it like this, though. But as always, you do things on your terms. As Daddy likes to say, I might take after you. So, you'll live in our lives forever. I love you, my friend.
Thank you all for your beautiful, beautiful Azkarot, fitting tributes. The Jerusalem Talmud, the Yerushalmi, teaches that monuments need not be erected for the righteous, that their deeds are their lasting memorials. And we have no shortage of incredible, beautiful deeds. Not just words, but deeds that were the mark of Ray's life, and that we will remember as blessing. So if you're able, I'll invite you to please rise. El Malay Rachamim, Shochem Bamromim, Mitzvah Menucha Nechona Tachat Kanfei Hashchina Im Kedoshim V'Tahorim, Zohar Harakia Mazirim Et Nishmat Avraham Yaakov Ben Yehuda Binyamin V'Zisel Chaya Sholach Le'olamo Baal Harachamim Yastirehu B'Seja K'nefecha Le'olamin Yitzor B'Tzor Chaim Et Nishmato Adonai Nachalato Yanuach Shalom Al Mishkavo V'Nomar Amen. Compassionate God, eternal spirit of the universe, grant perfect rest in your sheltering presence to Ray Markman, who has entered eternity. God of mercy, let him find refuge in the shadow of your wings, and let his soul be bound up in the bond of everlasting life. God is his inheritance. May he rest only in peace. We say together. Friends, you can be seated. They'll lower the casket at this time.
Triple legacy.
cemetery staff removes the equipment, we're going to invite those who would like to do so to come forward to participate in the burial, seeing Ray's body to its final resting place. This act of complete selfless care, an act for which we do not receive a thank you, and yet an act understood as embodied love. So upon the conclusion of placing enough earth in the grave to cover the vault entirely, we'll invite the family members to join together in the words of the burial Kaddish, and then we'll make a shura, a line, to escort them out to the cars.
Upside down, and also please don't pass the shovel or scoop to the next person. Just place it back in to allow the person to be amidst the other. That's what I said.
And when you said no, I was like, I knew you were like getting. I was like, I didn't say anything. No, like it's fine. You'll do it after. Because I wanted to tell you right there.
Yeah.
I'll tell you why. In my head, I was like, I'll come to more closer. And I was like, I'll whatever, I don't know, make it more personal. And then I didn't.
Yeah. You gotta get that to the end.
Maybe that's actually. Sorry.
Yeah.
Probably has to be right hand and left hand. Dominant arms yeah, I remember. Yeah.
Gosh, we just wanted to hear about you, you know? What's going on? Dude? That's how do you want to know?
Ladies and gentlemen, can I get everyone's attention? The family's going to be doing Kaddish right now. Everyone, please rise.
Friends, we're going to make a shura line on two sides through which Ray's family will walk to go back to their cars. So if you're not, everybody but the family will get in the two lines.
People on this side, please. That's good. Can you go give her the photo to carry while she walks in? Leslie, Jan, and Tom. Leslie.
So we're gonna, you guys are gonna.
Everyone would say, may God.
Thank you.
Do you want to say goodbye and thank you to the people that are online? We've still got 15 of the 25 devices that we're on.
Thank you very much for coming for our father's Levaya funeral, and it meant a lot to us, and we know you have a lot to do, and we appreciate that you took out the time for our father's farewell. It means a lot to us.
Thank you so much for coming. It meant a lot for us to see you online. Thank you.
Thank you for taking the time to participate in the funeral. We appreciate it.